Hello, this is Lisa LaRose here on Connect to Love on PRN-FM, and I'm joined by the wonderful Michael J. Russ. I want to say a welcome to you, Michael. How are you today?
I'm awesome. I'm amazing. I feel spectacular, physically and mentally. I do. Doing some new stretches. My back feels absolutely amazing. Doing little Qigong moves that are just they're just quipping up the energy, and I am feeling amazing.
That's fantastic. And it couldn't be a better time. I mean, here we are with the planetary alignments, and we have a new moon in Aquarius and the Chinese New Year of Snake, in the year of the snake, which is all about shedding that old skin and moving forward. I think that's absolutely fabulous. And it feels so good. I think I was doing the same, Michael. I was finding stretches and things that I had forgotten about that I had in my wheelhouse. And I thought, geez, boy, I remember doing this. Doesn't that feel great? And I'm joining a yoga class twice a week and getting back to what makes me feel good. And I think that's really what it's all about. And on last week's show, we had such a fun time exploring the idea of finding your true north and what that really means. And Michael had said something towards the end. He said, we really just are touching on it. And so I said to him, well, why don't we explore today what it means to delve a little bit deeper into finding your true north and maybe focus on what happens after you've defined what your core values are, what that means to you. And, here you are, this journey is starting, and what is next? Because sometimes that's where we get stuck. We're like, okay, I know what I want. I can see it. And where do we go? How do we allow that to happen? And, I was so grateful because there were so many things from the conversation I had with you, Michael, last week about finding your true north that I gained a lot of clarity. And I called my realtor yesterday and I said, I want to sell a house. I want to free myself up of one more obligation. And he came over today, and it was so interesting because I think he thought that I was just wanting to get some ideas. I said, no, you know what? It's the new moon. It's time. It's time to allow that to happen. And I have these amazing sacred destiny cards that I love. And I thought, okay, I'm going to pull 2 cards and see what the message is. And the first message was success. And the second message was new beginnings. I couldn't ask for a better confirmation from the universe.
No, that confirmation is right up your alley. You're going to get any more perfect than that.
I know. Yeah, and so now once I've taken that step, and maybe that's part of what finding my true north for me is, because I did a lot of thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, anything that's doesn't feel loving to me, it's time to release that and let that go. And my realtor and I spoke about a price, and I said, well, this is what feels good to me, and I'm very much a number girl. And I said, just let it go. We'll let it flow and align itself to however it is meant to be. And I always go back to the teachings of Abraham. The universe is in a constant flow of energy, and it's our job to align ourselves with that flow. And then not to resist it, because when we resist it, we create the blocks for all of the good things that are coming in my life. And so I'm just embracing the new beginning. I'm embracing the success, and I'll just surrender, and we'll see how it is. And then I'll allow abundance and joy and whatever is meant to be to manifest. I just let it go. Like, I'm going to be so excited to see that for sale sign, and it'll enable me to open up new doorways. So anyway, Michael, did you have any thoughts about what your true north was after we completed the show last week and what it means for you?
It's interesting because I have continued to listen to some people that we have both listened to, Shaman Durek and others, and my revelation this week was a remembering of what I had done decades ago when I delved into. I was in a situation where I came into something brand new, and in terms of an opportunity and a livelihood, and it really brought a lot of doubts and fears to the surface, and thought viruses that had been holding me back. And so this week I've kind of, long story short, delved back into getting more clarity with regard to the energies that I have been putting out there, and focused on repetition and beginning again to reprogram my subconscious in a slightly different way, with inner conversations and affirmations that are aligned with where with the energies and the path of my true north. And that has been it's really elevated me frequency-wise to a whole new space. I mean, it's keeping me up in the high self-love, love category, enlightenment, and any doubts or fears that I had have been swept away with those by those new energies. They're gone now. And what's interesting too is, I was talking to we were talking before the show, and I had mentioned the fact that something that we have to constantly be alert to, and that is when we are seeking our true north and we're living, we sort of find our version of true north, because it's, in my view, something that will continue to evolve, because we're getting to know ourselves, we're getting to understand what makes us tick, and when you start loving yourself, your life changes, because loving yourself creates a vibration that attracts other things into your life, and those things are new to you. And that we have to constantly be in understanding of the fact that the old things, that the old people we had in our lives, events, situations, circumstances that we have leaned on for years, maybe perhaps decades, will be challenged, because they no longer fit the dynamic of, or the frequencies that we're resonating from, having found, discovered, been in touch with our true north. Mm-hmm. And so it's reminded me, I remind people of this because we have people who won't understand, people in our lives who we care about, who won't understand why we're so happy, why we're so joyful, why we're so free, why we have stepped into a level of emotional freedom that heretofore we hadn't had, and that they themselves maybe perhaps cannot relate to. And we have to understand that it's our life, it's our journey, and that what other people say, whatever people do, is none of our business. Everybody's on their own individual journey, right? As Shaman Durek likes to say, we're all source energy, and we're all creative beings. And our thoughts, our words, our actions, responses, they create our reality and our individual reality. And so when your individual reality changes as a result of your search for and finding or discovering or tapping into your true north, whatever it really means to you, because we're not here to define it or judge what it is, and you start feeling radiantly joyful and feeling as if you have found your nirvana, whatever that means to you, and you're feeling the love for yourself and the love for everyone else and life, and you start to live more from love because you're feeling it within yourself. You've released it. It's not something that you have to go find. It's not something that you are that you discover. You rediscover, because it's already there. We've just kind of been layering it over with life, but it's there. And I love it when I see people or experience people connecting with that love that they've had their entire lives, when they shed the skins, so to speak, of other of everybody else's idea of what their true north is, because that's the other thing that we haven't talked about, is that there are a lot of people out there who other people have told them what their true north is, and they've been believing it for however long. And only you can know your true north. Only you can find what that means for you, and no one else. So that's kind of what I've been involved in. All those thoughts have rolled through my head, and I am in a space right now where I'm understanding that we're turning a page again with the Chinese New Year. We're turning a page again with the new moon. And my mother used to say growing up, always, if you're going to start something, start it on the new moon.
It's so true.
She would only get her haircut on the new moon, right?
I know a lot of people that are like that. Yeah, for sure.
You plant seeds.
Yeah, you look at the days. No, and that again, it's about that reinventing yourself. And if you get your hair cut, that's a symbol of reinventing yourself. And I think that's where we are right now, in astrologically and lunar wise, but it's all about that bold reinvention. And if you think about the snake's energy, it's about transformation. And if you've ever seen the symbol of the Ouroboros, it's a snake, a serpent eating its own tail, and it signifies unity and the cycle of birth and death, which is transformation. And so, when we shed that skin and we reveal a more evolved version of ourselves, it's just like there is growth in that. And, a snake doesn't go, no, I don't feel like shedding my skin right now. It kind of surrenders to that, and it releases that skin that's constricting, and it just expands, and it becomes a bigger snake.
Yeah, expands beyond it.
You're right.
It's true. Our mission is to expand beyond who we are on a daily basis, and not sit stagnant in the same skin for years and years and years, doing the same things, thinking the same way, having the same fears, doubts, and experiences as a result of that. It goes back to Glenn Brooks. You step into the unknown. You have to. That's what finding your true north involves, is stepping into the unknown, and the unknown will continue to be as you elevate your frequency as a result of seeking, or again, whatever phase of that is that you're in, seeking or having found it, or now having found it, and now in the maintenance of it and the transforming beyond it. That involves making sure that you understand that you're letting things go. You're letting old modes of thought. You're letting old things physically that you might have done. You're now it's a whole new world. It's and embracing that there's such joy in it and such freedom in it. Yeah, the joy and freedom that everybody's looking for exists outside of the construct that they've created for themselves, where there's no growth.
Right. Michael, when we finished the conversation last week, it made me think back to a time in my own life where I ended a 6-year relationship. And it was very interesting because it was not necessarily healthy for me. And when I said to this gentleman that I could no longer be with him, and he said to me, why couldn't you just leave things the way they were? And I said, because I needed to be who I was. And when I walked out that door, literally, it's funny, somebody said to me, well, you didn't really love him. And I said, no, I really did love him, but I had to love myself more. But when I walked out that door, the reason that it made me think about it was because we were speaking about the seed of the soul. It was within a short period of time, maybe less than a week, that somebody gave me that book. I connected with these 2 women, and I was invited to go out to Ojai, California. I went to a 7-day retreat. I got my hair cut. I manifested in a very amazing car for not a lot of money. And when I got back, he reached out to me and said, my parents are coming and they would really like to see you. And when I drove up, he looked at me. He said, this isn't you.
Who are you?
He said, he said, who are you? And I said, no, this is me. You know, I guess this wasn't the person that I couldn't be when I was with you. And a lot of it had to do with, I found Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Agreements, and then The Art of the Relationship. And I realized in that book was the most profound statement: you're responsible for your own happiness. And I was like, wow, that was gold to me, because I had been so busy for 6 years trying to make him happy. I never saw that it wasn't about me making him happy. It was about him taking that responsibility for himself. But really, that if I had not closed that door, I never would have met Glenn Brooks. And there were so many different things that would not have happened. And it was difficult because I did truly love him. But it was better for me to know that chapter of my life had ended. And I'm sure that you experienced something similar in your relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Early on, it's interesting because I've always seen relationships as a platform for growth.
They are, truly.
Some people don't see them that way. They see them as, because we have this societal diatribe of find a person you love and stick with them for the rest of your life, and meld and blend with them, blend into them, you blend into each other. And I'm going, yeah, that's just a bunch of hogwash. Basically, we grow through connection, and we grow through experiences, and because and by finding out, as with anything else, you have to live what you don't want to understand what you do. There's that contrast, right? And in many cases, relationships help you understand what you do and don't want in a relationship and in your life, right? The person who smothers you, if you're with somebody who smothers you, won't let you be you because they have their idea of what a relationship is with someone, and they won't let you step outside of that construct of what they believe is a relationship should be. You're going to feel stifled. And eventually there will be resentment that happens, and there will be other things that will go along with it that aren't so pleasant in terms of feelings. And it's interesting, and unfortunately, there are a lot of people who are married already, who are in a constructive business relationship already with someone, and their pro and con list is one side, I leave, how am I going to survive, where am I going to live, what am I going to do? There's the fear and doubt part of it that covers that con list. And then there's the pro side, which is not physical, it's feeling oriented. I feel free. I know that what I did was right for me, as it was an expression of self-love, so that I could breathe again. I could step into the unknown again. And the trick that puts it all together is understanding that you will have everything you need when you need it. Because the con list is all about lack and doubt and fear, right? And so the pro list is about happiness and joy and freedom and all those higher frequencies that you want to feel. And so in my first relationship, in order to move past that, I simply asked my wife at the time, what do you need to feel secure? She told me, and I literally said, okay, there you go, gave it to her. And so I didn't attempt, it wasn't about fighting. It wasn't about a lack of love. I do love her. She was an amazing person. It's just that for me, I didn't see myself there in 20 years.
Right.
And if that's the case, I owed it to her to let her know while she was young enough to make her own decisions with regard to perhaps a different relationship or whatever. And she didn't see it the same way, so we haven't talked since. But I felt good about the way that I ended the relationship. It was from a loving perspective. I was not mad and upset. I wasn't disrespectful. It was just I expressed how I felt. A lot of people are in relationships where they feel that they're trapped and stuck. I know people who are in jobs they feel they're stuck in, livelihoods, where they have trapped themselves with things that boats, cars, jet skis, and all the insurance and payments that go along with them, and house this, and they've got 1 or 2 kids now, and they're needing to pay for all the things that they are now getting their kids in, and they're trapped. They're literally trapped. And the only thing, what I tell people in that situation is, you need to be honest. If you're not feeling the way that you have the freedom to find your true north, so to speak, within the context of what's going on, we understand in relationship that each person develops perceptions about the other and expectations about the other person as the relationship moves forward. So the way to deal with it is to communicate. Is to communicate
Absolutely.
from love, not from fear or doubt or worry or any of those lower frequencies, but from love. Because you never can tell. It's possible that the other person feels the same way you do.
Right.
Your partner feels the same way, and they're not talking about it because they're afraid that if they talk to you, you'll think that because the number one thing that occurs is feeling threatened, right? Oh, is this going to mean that our relationship is going to be over because we think differently now? Well, basically, the only way you have to break through that fear and have a conversation. Things aren't going the way I thought that they would go when I was at this point in my life, and I have interests here and I have interests there, and we've got this. How do you feel about that? You ask,
right.
and you converse over time about from a loving standpoint, and you can never go wrong when you speak from love. You speak from the heart. Never.
Absolutely.
Now, the other person may not agree with you, but you know that what you've done is you've spoken from the heart. You've spoken your truth. You've spoken about your how you feel, and as a stepping stone to your true north.
Absolutely. And, in my case, this individual is my best friend. And it was very difficult to make that choice. But as you said, it was done from a place of love. And it was not, I knew, because there's just certain signs that it had just come, it had come to it, as far as we were going to grow together, because our interests diverged, our paths diverged, and to have that courage at that point to sort of say, okay, we're going to explore new perspectives and then step fearlessly into the unknown. I didn't leave the relationship and think, oh, I'm never going to find somebody. It wasn't about finding somebody else. It was about finding me. And I think about, there were so many incredible blessings that came from that. And I think that when we stand, and this is where we sort of are right now, I do believe that this time in cosmic history is very much a soul level reset. I hear it from so many different leaders. And as we're standing on this threshold, we can ask ourselves, who are we ready to become? And it's like, okay, shed, expand, trust, rise. It's all here. We don't have to know the semantics of it. We just have to know that the energy is available for us to embrace it. And I think back to, some of the teachings of Bashar, because I really love what Daryl Anka brings through with him. And one of the ideas of flow for him was emphasizing your highest excitement in creating your reality. And it's funny because I sort of have it blazed. Act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability, with zero insistence on the outcome. And then when we trust that excitement with, it allows us to take that action. And when I close the door to this gentleman's home and walked out of the door, it felt like I took gum boots off and they were stuck in the mud.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know this sounds like a crazy metaphor, but it was like I got my wings back and I was able to fly again. And again, it was done through compassion. But in that same feeling, I think back to that time, and there was excitement with the unknown. And I think that the universe, for me anyway, that it's filled in the gaps since then in amazing ways that I could never have planned or I could never drawn out on a vision board. I just surrendered to the unknown, and it was like the right people showed up. I mean, it was one teacher after another, and next thing you know, I had an office. I opened up my holistic health practice. I was connecting with people that were very like-minded, and it was like I found my tribe. I was allowed to be me. It was wonderful. I wasn't, poo-pooed for, oh yeah, you know what, that's just that stuff isn't true, whatever. But I I actually, I had a very successful health practice, helping people holistically, and that's where my passion was. And I count myself very, very blessed. And I think that anybody who is asked themselves that question, what excites me most right now? And that's part of finding your true north. And then you take a step in that direction, even if it's just a little small step, like signing up for a yoga class. You've never done it before. Or, you feel guided to go investigate a part of the city you've never gone to. And, and then just trust whatever unfolds is for your highest good. Yeah,
I think that's absolutely awesome. Well said, by the way. And it's something that, I'm sitting around here, I work out of my house, and there are probably a list of, in any given day, 5 or 6 things that really need to be done, right, with the house or this or that, walking the dog, or, there's certain things that I normally do. And when it comes to highest excitement, what makes you feel excited is, in my view, aligned with whatever your perception of whatever that thing is. So I could, see walking my 6-month-old corgi as a chore, or I could see it as a fun way to engage the time. Right? It could excite
so delightful.
It could excite me or not. I mean, I kind of know what I'm in for. So, but again, it's I'm constantly realigning my perceptions of things. I've got to fix this thing or fix that thing, and I get excited by it being done, right? That's what excites me in terms of, I know I'm going to do it, and I know what it's going to look like. I must have 10 orchids, and every once a week in the winter here, I take them and I make sure that they're watered, right? And so the beauty of it is, I know that when I do that, what excites me is the end result. And I've got now out of the 10, 9 are blooming.
That's fantastic.
And the colors are stellar. I had a friend that moved to Portugal and gave me three orchids. And those orchids now, that was October, so the orchids now are blooming. It's fantastic how many blossoms that I'm getting. And it's just a function of, for me, there's good energy. I don't see watering them or taking care of them as a chore, and I know that I benefit from the energy of the blossom. When that happens, and they blossom for like 3 or 4 months, the blossoms can stay for 3 or 4 months. They don't just go away next week. If you take care of the plant, you'll have the blossom for a while, and you get the beauty of seeing that energy. It's just fantastic. You get the benefit of seeing that energy of that blossom, the colors and the vibrancy and the energy that wonderful plant gives off for some period of time. So whatever it is the bottom line, I guess. Whether it's mowing your lawn or taking your kids to soccer practice or whatever it may be, you can find, as Carol Collins and the teachers say, you find joy in everything that you do. And with that joy that you find, there will be excitement. The perception of finding joy is the key. I'm going to find some joy in this. I'm finding joy in whatever that is. And you just start thinking that way. The joy will come to you. You'll enjoy the experience, whether it's, fixing a leaky faucet or whatever. The joy of the satisfaction of having done it and having it finished and completed creates excitement.
It does.
Or going to the yoga practice, like you say, picking up Pilates or going there, or me picking up, 4 different
Qigong, right?
Qigong moves, or some other stretches that, in my view, are extremely timely, and I was guided to them because it's at where I am right now in my youthful exuberance of age, there are some things you can get tight. I'd had energy back issues in 40 years ago as a result of a giving away of my power that I corrected. However, I've been diligent about making sure that I do things. And I'm going to tell you something. I did these stretches just twice, and I feel amazingly flexible, and it is spectacular, absolutely spectacular. And I do feel that I'm guided to those things.
And I would tell you most likely are, and my guides are the same. I've had in the last week, I've had 4 people send me different Qigong videos.
Yep, I know. I've sent at least 3 to you.
And also, it's almost like it's a free event. It was a free event with Master Lin, who he was the founder of Spring Forest Qigong, and I had the pleasure of having on the show. And his story is amazing, and he is a Qigong grandmaster, and he's just everything is so wonderful. But it's amazing, Michael, because you, as you said, you feel lighter, you feel freer, you're more alive, and you're flowing. You're allowing that joy to be your natural state. And I think that's what living from your true north is all about. It's not about controlling life. You can care for those orchids, but you can't force them to bloom. It doesn't matter how much. They're going to bloom in their own time. And in our lives, the solutions appear oftentimes in unexpected ways. And so we just have to allow that and allow it to carry us to where we are. But I think it's about getting clear and knowing what that true north is, and then allowing to that flow. And then I think when you commit to that flow, or the art of allowing, that's when life unfolds in miraculous ways. As you are doing those movements, what a great metaphor for life. You're doing those movements. You're freeing up. You're freeing energy. And I think that is all part of that reset. I'm letting go of a house. I'm freeing my energy. I'm doing a different type of Qigong movement. But I think that a lot of people are experiencing that. I had a friend of mine text me about the energies yesterday, and she said, and I cried and I cried and I cried, and she said I was crying for myself and for the collective, and she said I've never experienced anything like that, but she woke up today and she's feeling joyful, and it's a different experience, which I think is part of it, no matter how it shows up for you. If it comes in the form of tears, then celebrate those tears. If it comes in the form of movement, then move. Releasing material objects like I'm doing.
Yeah, releasing. It's interesting. The path is a joyful one. It's a happy one. It is one of relief and release. That to me, that's so. You look around and you see, energy. There's the energy and there's flow in a room, and I know someone who likes to shift and change their aspects of their decor once a year or twice a year. They move certain things around. They let things go and they bring new things in. And there are other people who you could walk into their house and it looks exactly like it did 40 years ago. And you're like, There's the energy in here. There's a lot of stagnant energy in here, right? And it's not about in many cases, spending money, because you can find, to me, going out and finding treasures that resonate with you, that you then bring into your home, and then they resonate all around you, is a joyful event. And my whole office is full of nothing but things. I could look at any item in here and tell you where it came from, how I discovered it, how it came to me, or I came to it, every one of them. And I look, and it brings me a lot of joy to look at things and then see the story in my mind, run the story of why that is in my life. And I know other people who will let somebody else decorate their place. I just want somebody else to put furniture in for me and this nicky-nackies and whatever, and I'm going, I would never put anything in my house that I didn't relate to.
I wouldn't either.
Energetically,
yeah.
Right? And so, you could tell somebody about, if you're part of the process of choosing, if someone's bringing you the choices, someone brought me the choices of a carpet colors, different this and that, I would know then which resonated with me. And that's fine. We've done that. But to say I put it all in your hands and I'm going to, the Caribbean for a month, and when I come back, please be done. I want to walk back into a house that's got, everything in it already. I'm going, wow, that wouldn't happen with me.
Yeah,
but it happened.
No, totally. Yeah, no, and I get it. And I think that's why both you and I have enjoyed Shaman Durek's book, Spirit Hacking, because it's a good reminder for both of us that we're the architects of our own reality. And both you and I like to curate our spaces. We do. And I think that for us, especially in aligning with our true north, it's like in order to have that flow, we need to have things around us that bring us joy, whatever it is. If it's a small little crystal or if it's a picture that you picked up. When you're sitting at your desk creating, it's there as a reminder.
Yeah.
And
so true.
Yeah.
That is exactly the case. And that's the thing about it. I mean, everything, I guess, everything has energy. We know that, animate, inanimate, everything has energy in one way or another, in energetic resonance. And we're talking about finding your true north and what that means and how you go about it and how you stay there, how do you maintain it. And this is it's all interwoven. It's all interwoven. The space that you curate around you, the hobbies, skills, gifts, talents that you have, are you connected to them? Are you discovering something new that you didn't know about? That's stepping into the unknown, is discovering something you are good at that you never had any idea that you were, something that you can be proficient at and makes you feel joyful and loving and just happy to be engaged in it. And then there's those things you've done for a long time that you just love. Maybe you look at them a different way. I know it's on my golf channel. I have connections. People comment that they see playing golf now in a totally different way, and that way makes it more fun, more joyful for them, which is the whole idea. That's what you want to do, and it's my passion. And all I want to do is help other people see it in a way that it can become their passion as well. And I don't have any control over that. It's just, hey, if it happens, it happens, and I hope it does. If not, you can apply those things to anything.
True. You do. You exemplify that, Michael, because when you go out and I've seen your videos, it's not about you struggling to control the game. I mean, golf is a very unpredictable game. But when you go out there, you allow whatever happens. It's sort of like, okay, this is going to support me. I'm going to get out on the green, and this is going to be effortless. And if it's not effortless, then what am I learning from it? How can I correct it? And then you decide, well, I can keep practicing and using this club, or taking the shot this way, or as you said, you're doing Qigong and it's freeing up your back, so it's going to improve your game. Because you're able to have a different range, right?
It's absolutely correct. The thing about, I see golf as a metaphor for life. It doesn't matter whether we're playing volleyball or some other sport. Golf I love because it's an individual sport, although team sports like pickleball and others, volleyball, where you require more than one player, unless you're playing individual volleyball with somebody, which is in its own right would be interesting. The aspect of it's interesting because I was thinking about this the other day. When I play, and I can be off by 1%. What I call the 1 degree, actually, the 1 degree, be 1 degree off, where things are almost happening, but they're not. They're just about there, but they're not. And I think about life when people go through a day and things are not necessarily going the way that they thought they would go. They're just off by a degree or so. You maybe missed something by a few minutes, an appointment that you were going to, something occurred and maybe you're just late by 5 minutes or so, and there's this cascading effect in your day. And the question is, how do you shift that around? A lot of it is the perception that you begin to embody when the first thing happens. You develop this, oh my gosh, this has happened, now that's going to make me late for this, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. You have this perception about how your day will go. And when you drop that perception and just take the moment for the moment, it all kind of rights itself. Mm-hmm. It all kind of rights itself because your perception now is not of a cascading disaster in your day. It's just things are just going on. I'm not going to predict what will happen. I'm just going to be in this moment, enjoying this moment, dealing with this moment in a positive way, in a loving way, in a kind way, and then I'm going to see what happens after that. That's kind of what I do on the course. It's like you got to get rid of the mindset that created the 1 degree being off in the first place, and you got to do it quick.
Yeah, you do. Fast. And I think back, when you were talking about that correction and how you do. It's like, okay, you have to move quickly, and that's sort of sometimes things come up in our lives like that. And so when we do, we have to sort of say, like, going back to Abraham, I think back to when I closed that door. It wasn't shortly after that I met two very amazing ladies in my life who introduced me to so many different things. And the one, she said, oh, do you know Abraham Hicks? And I said, I don't know what you're talking about. And she was the first, her name's Alice, and she sent me my first audio of Esther Hicks. And I was like, well, this is really interesting. And then I couldn't get enough of it. Yeah. And that's one of the things, Abraham emphasizes that, the universe is constantly flowing with energy. And it's our job to align with that flow. And when we resist that flow and we create that resistance, we can block a lot of really good things coming into our lives. No, I have to control this. And, by surrendering to that flow, we allow that abundance and joy and fulfillment to manifest in our lives. And I think about the one audio, and I think it's still on YouTube, where she talks about paddling upstream, and we paddle upstream. We're in a little canoe, and we're just trying to get there. And it's like the water comes rushing at us, and we just can't get there. But if we just allow the boat to turn and go with the flow, it's so much smoother ride.
Right. Water has a flow, right?
And Shaman Durek says the same thing. And he talks about that with, in this whole quantum field of possibility, that we no longer need to struggle, that we need to deprogram ourselves. He calls struggle and fear outdated programs. And he said that paradigm taught us that success requires suffering. But in fact, it's not the suffering, but expansion happens through joy. And I really love it. There's a lot. It's different things said different ways, but it's messages that really resonate with your soul, I think, and my soul as well. And we're like, wow. Great reminders.
That's an awesome reminder, by the way, about the suffering part, because it's this. I grew up in an age where you use day timers, and you set goals for yourself. You wrote them down, and you got very specific, and you drilled down to every nuance of that goal, right? And then nowadays, Bashar, General by Derelenka, is saying, no, you don't, you forget about, you establish the goal, then forget about it. I'm going, okay.
Let the flow come in.
Yeah, let the flow, let it come to you in whatever form it's supposed to. And in many cases, you'll get better than what you originally drew up on your blackboard.
You're right.
But that's what I was taught, is to draw it up on a blackboard, get very nuanced about it, get very detailed about it. And I guess in its own way, if you did that and then you burned the blackboard, it might work, But if you continue to hang on to it, which was the plan, you put it up on the wall, and you check off everything that happens that you've achieved and all that, and you've struggled through. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I tell people all the time, you don't have to struggle to play golf. You don't have to struggle. That's a mindset that puts you in fight or flight, fear and doubt and lack. That it just mires you in those negative frequencies that continually perpetuate themselves. And in that, you're creating your own hell, so to speak, on the course. And most people, the average person, more people quit golf because of frustration than anything else.
I think that can be true for anything, Michael. I mean, I think a lot of people quit something, and for some reason, like, we've been conditioned to think that struggle makes us worthy, instead of, and then we resist what's easy. I mean, I think Carol Collins and the teachers have said, it really can be just this easy. Release your belief around something and allow the energy to move freely, and shift from I must struggle to I allow life to support me effortlessly. Wow. There's I always say everything with ease and grace. Like, just to, like, okay, I want this, but it has to be everything with ease and grace. And
I love that.
I had thank you. I was going to say I had a challenging morning, and a friend of mine called me, and she's like, I can't believe it. And she said, but you're so laid back about it. You're not even excited. You're not even upset about it. I'm like, no, I'm not worried. She's like, you're not even worried about it. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's all good. Yeah. Everything works out. It's fine. And here I am doing this wonderful show with you and connecting with our audience and sharing the love. And, I mean, who's doing better than me? Maybe. I don't know.
True. We pick our, it's one of the reasons why I love setting time aside every week to sit down and have this conversation with you, a conversation, regardless of what we talk about, because it's just, it puts me in a place where I am reminded of these things we're talking about, because it's really what I want our listeners to know is that we here on PRN FM is that we both experience everything that we're discussing on in this program, these concepts, these ideas. It's not that we're just putting them out there and say, hey, give this a go, and see how it works for you. It's like we test these things in ourselves. We use them in our own lives, and we feel the result. And we're sharing from a place of wisdom, experiential wisdom, not from a place of book wisdom, where somebody said, do this, and we're passing on, well, so-and-so said, do that. I've never done it, but hey, let's see how it works for you. And no, we both, we read, we experience things, we give things a go, we and weave them into our life or into our existence, and we both weave different things into our existence. So it's fun to kind of talk about how certain things that we've done have resonated with us. And for our listeners, I really hope that what you're doing here is, when you're listening here, is picking out bits of treasure that you can use, as I like to say, to enrich your own life in some way. Everybody's coming listening to this program coming from a different space, a different experience in life, a different place, a different resonance, so to speak, in terms of frequency. And not everything we talk about is going to be applicable to you in your life right now. Your job is to get a sense of what does fit with you, what you would like to use to enrich your life right now, to help you find your true north. Because there are many different paths, and yours is unique. And but the energies are there, as you said in the beginning of the show. The energies are there with the new moon and the new lunar new year, and astrologically, the energies are on your side. It's like you're on you're at the precipice of the highest roller coaster in the world, about to go over straight down before you make that curve or loop-de-loop into the, to me, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's
great visual, though. I mean, I get that.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic visual, because you know it's coming. You're strapped in, and there's no going back. You're like,
ready to roll.
Stopping this ride. Yep.
Right. No stopping the ride, right. and the feelings that come. No stopping the feelings that come from the ride. And you control the perceptions of the ride. You control everything. And so make it the most awesome ride possible. No fear, no doubt. Just enjoy the moment and let it unfold. And to me, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love it, Michael, because I really appreciate you wanting to continue the conversation, because for anybody that's new listening to the show, we do the show completely unscripted, and literally we didn't talk earlier today. We talked 5 minutes before the show. We started to record the show today, and I just said to Michael, I said, it was such a big topic last week. I'd love to continue on it, because I sort of feel like we left our audience hanging, that, to where do you go once you find your true north? And I really believe that, like, living from your true north is not about controlling life, not your life. I always say to people, I let go of the steering wheel to my life a long time ago. I let it go. I gave it up. I don't control. But I trust, and I say that on my Instagram post a lot. I say trust that the current of this existence is going to carry you to everything that you desire. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to still work. You don't necessarily have to work to make it happen, but your work lets it happen. And that when you just allow that trust and that flow, your whole world can expand in amazingly wondrous ways. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. Inspired action is the terminology that I was reintroduced to a couple of days ago, doing that tapping exercise, that video about letting abundance flow. It was taking inspired action. I heard it 2 different times this week. That's what you're really doing in life. When you're engaged in your right livelihood, you are taking inspired action. Towards that aids, whose energy development aids in your gathering of abundance. And it's the inspired action part is what I do every single day. I sit down at my desk and I take inspired action. And without understanding or knowing what the consequences will be, because I don't have any control over that, I just take inspired action, see what happens. And that's, as entrepreneurs, you have to take inspired action and not be so caught up in the results, because being caught up in the results and judging them as good or bad can stifle the energy and the flow of your energy. And
I think you're right. Yeah, and I think when you commit to that flow, that's when life unfolds in miraculous ways. That's when the synchronicities become daily occurrences, and you are at the right place at the right time. Or I open up a book, I pick up a book that I just ordered, and I open it up to chapter 2, and chapter 2 is entitled Purpose, and at the top of they have a pull quote. And in that pull quote, the second sentence says, as long as we allow the flow of experience to come to us, everything will fall into place naturally in due course. Peace, wisdom, and fulfillment will all be the result. That's a synchronicity. I just bought this book. It gets delivered in the mail, and that's what I open it up to.
Yeah,
and that's
amazing.
not a coincidence. It's
Nope.
beautiful.
There are no coincidences. There are no accidents. Everything that you are exposed to, you're exposed to because it's right for you at that time. And there's a lesson in there. It may be a little deep. You may have to, move the palm fronds aside to see it. But there is generally a lesson in either contrast or transformation or alchemy. There's something there. And the beauty of life, in my view, is actually discovering what that is without judgment of any kind. That's the most exciting thing, why you were led to a certain spot when you knew you wanted to be somewhere else. And the average person will be upset because they aren't where they thought they should be, and which makes them miss the opportunity that has been presented to them. That's your free will aspect. You got free will to be upset about not making the goal you thought you should make, or being at the place that you intended to be, and the traffic jam took you on a detour and you ended up somewhere else. And, instead of lamenting about and creating all this negative energy, lack energy, doubt energy, fear energy from being in a different place, just simply going with the flow and saying, I wonder why I was guided here. Let's see. Let's keep an open mind and meet people, connect. When that happens with me, I generally connect with somebody that I'm going, wow, yeah, there's the justification for that happening, that thing I thought. There's no accidents, there's no coincidences. And then we sit there and talk about it and go, yeah, this is not an accident that we met each other. Yeah, there's circumstances were created, and you can either take advantage of those circumstances or not. The opportunity is there, the door's open, you can walk through, or you can turn around and walk the other way because you think it's the wrong door. Or you don't like the color of the door.
Right.
Whatever. You can judge it or whatever. But life is like that. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, delicate dance that always has a great rhythm.
Without a doubt.
Does.
Without a doubt. I think that's what's so fun about these explorations, and finding your true north, and then allowing and aligning with that flow of the universe, and just allowing that abundance in all areas of your life. And that would be my wish for you all, including you, Michael. That as that greater abundance in your life, more greater health, more wealth, more joy, more happiness, more laughter, more miracles, and definitely more love and more connection.
Well said, because you deserve it.
Yep, because you deserve it. Yep. And then, embrace the flow and allow the magic to unfold, right?
Exactly. Every single time. There's something amazing, magnificent, spectacular there for you if you just open your eyes to see it.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I don't know how much time we have left, Michael. Do you want to leave our audience with something?
I have no idea how much time we have left. That's the fun thing about this. But I will say this. I want to say thank you and how grateful and appreciative I am of the people who actually listen to this show, either on PRN FM, on the OWN network, or through our podcast that Connect to Love. I'm appreciative because we sit around and we do this out of love. It's if you don't sense the love that's flowing through this particular radio show and podcast, I can't help you because we're putting it out there. I feel it every time I sit down with you. And if you have questions, where can people tap into us if they have questions? Check with us on Instagram. You want to do that?
Yeah, probably that's one of the best ways. We're on Twitter, or you can message through some of the other networks on Facebook, those types of things. But probably Instagram is the best right now, only because of my
Connect to Love Energy, huh?
Connect to Love Energy on Instagram. And I do hope that this show, that where we expand a little bit more on the perspective of finding your true north, resonates with you. And perhaps we'll wait to hear about all the amazing things that are unfolding in your world. And may all your days be blessed with ease and grace.
Absolutely. Till next time.
You.